Alright, we are headed out to drill another well this morning. I've actually been to this job once before last week, and they moved the well location on me and they moved it underneath the trees. I guess they didn't understand my truck was 38 feet tall and I couldn't drill under the trees. So I decided not to drill it there because we were actually like 8 foot away from a freaking transformer, and there's so many cars on the road today. I'm just sitting in my parking lot waiting to pull out. But yeah, so I told them they had to move their well location further from the house, further from that transformer box. I did not like being that close to main power. And so they moved a whole bunch of stuff, some generators, a garden shed, other stuff like that. And we are headed there now. And we're gonna go cut them a hole, and I'm gonna take y'all along with me. Alright, we have made it all the way to their driveway. About a 20-minute ride here. And they have a gravel driveway that is almost a half a mile long. It's crazy how much money they put in gravel. But I will say, most people don't put stone down correctly for, you know, driveways to be permanent. Whoever did this road, did this driveway, did a really good job on it. Alright, and that's home for the day. Yeah, wow. Last time we were here, there was nobody here. Now we got a pile of people. Alright, so this is home for the day. Got our flag there. That's where we're going to punch the hole. And so everything that we see here behind this shed was not cleaned out. You can kind of see where like the line of stuff used to be. Within the last 10 days, they've cleaned all this out. Well, originally, if you see this branch right here, they wanted me directly underneath this. They wanted me to drill my well, like right here. But look, there's the transformer. And then you've got something there, and then the house there. So I refused to drill it here because it was so close, and we got temporary power, and we look up, we're all in the bushes. So I wasn't gonna cut it here. I told them they needed to move it. It was originally sited for over here, and then they moved the flag. So once the homeowner moves the flag against what they have it written up for, I stop right there, because you can't move a well. You know, once the well is in the ground, it's in the ground. So gotta go with what the permit says. All right, we're gonna throw some wood under the pads and get this thing lifted in the air. As soon as we started drilling, the concrete crew decided they were gonna walk over and watch us perform the drilling process. So at that point, I decided not to film anything else. Little did I know, I was about to run into one of the worst geological formations that I have ever seen. Now, just so you as the viewer can get some understanding of what's going on here, the well took us 2 days to complete. I was able to drill it to, I think, 285 on day 1, and I completed the well to 405 on day 2. The reason why we went so deep, we were in search for large volumes of water and good clear water. The homeowner is planning on putting in an in-ground swimming pool, so there was a need for a large volume of water, or a well that produced a lot of water. The reason why we're cameraing the well is because we have to put a liner in it. I noticed that there was turbidity in the water. I encountered water somewhere around 80 foot, so I knew I was going to have to line that out. Somewhere, I think it was around 65 to 75 foot, I knew I encountered some dirty water. So I knew I wanted to line that out. But that is not the reason why we are going down in this well. Currently we are at 40 foot, and if I know the image is kind of shaky, but if you look, see the scars on the sidewall of the casing? The rock coming out of the well did that. And we're going to go down a little bit more. So right here, it's going to be a plastic to metal transition. We transitioned to a small 7-foot piece of metal at the bottom of the PVC casing to handle bad rock, rough rock when we encounter it, because sometimes the PVC casing can break, so we have a 7-foot piece of metal that we will put onto the bottom of it. So here we are, we're about to exit the bottom of the piece of casing, and take a look at this borehole. It is absolutely insane. Now take in mind, a 6-inch bit, a round 6-inch bit, cut this hole. And what you see there is a square hole. That is just blowing my mind. We're gonna slowly journey on down. We're at about 55 foot here. I know the camera's kind of shaky. We had literally just cut the rig off and we had limited time to inspect the bore before it fills with water. It blows my mind to see how broken and fractured that rock is in the ground, and to think that I drilled through that for 2 days straight. From a driller's perspective, you kind of worry about situations like this, that you could have a well collapse, or fractured rock from up above can fall and trap your hammer. And that was actually things that I had happening to me during the drilling process. Here we are. Okay, so we're at 75 foot, and that's where the water level has reached. So I noticed by the composition of the rock, we have a circular borehole down there. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to push our packer down to that point. We're going to and know that we'll get a really good seal. And I needed to physically see where we needed to push the liner to. So that was the reason why I was going down in the well. Also, we're trying to stop the turbidity in the water, and you can tell at 65 feet we have water coming in from up above the camera. So we know that pushing the packer down to the 80-foot level, we're going to stop all of that dirty water that's coming in. Wow, just look at the square hole right there. That just absolutely blows my mind. Absolutely crazy. I mean, that hole is actually offset. If you see, the camera's trying to fall to the center, and the center is actually way over from where the borehole continued. I fought this well for probably 4.5 hours, and it whooped my butt. When we went to set the casing in this well, we hit rock at 30 foot, and we set 47 foot of casing. But because the rock was so broken and so brittle, pieces of rock kept falling off, falling on top of my hammer, trapping my hammer, and wouldn't allow my big hammer to come back out. While I was drilling, I was paying attention to my rotation pressures of my big hammer. The rotation pressures were over 3 times what they should have been. In situations like that, when the rotation pressure is so high, you risk breaking off an 8-inch solid steel bit down the well and losing the well. So luckily, that didn't happen on this job. So we just finished with the well camera, and now we're getting ready to install the 4-inch PVC well liner with the packer on the bottom at 80 foot. At this point, we have 40 feet of liner in the hole, and this is piece number 3. This will be 60 foot when it reaches the bottom. Now notice it is binding up here, and then it falls and drops. It's catching the rock ledge. This is the final 20-foot section of liner. We had a little bit of difficulties with it. You see that it's not lining up, it's binding up, but luckily I went up there, gave my dad some of my advice. I told him, hey, stop pushing down, why don't you pull up on it? So we pulled up on it 6 inches, and then we pushed again, and it went all the way to the bottom, smooth as can be. Luckily we saved the hole, no more worries of rocks falling in. Alright, we got the well all grouted, and we got the 4-inch liner in there, as you saw in the video. But unfortunately I wasn't able to film it, the whole process of drilling, but at least I captured a little bit of the craziness that was going on inside this borehole. Sometimes, you just can't get away from the machine to set up a camera, and a whole bunch of other variables are going along. You just can't deal with, filming for a video's sake. But luckily today I got to get a visualized understanding of what was going on down in the well. But it's kind of crazy. I'm going to show you here. These are the rocks that were coming out of the well, just to give you a comparison of how big that they were. You know, we got a 4-inch drill rod inside of a 6-inch pipe, and a rock that's this big tries to come out of it. So this section over here kept coming out between 250 and 400 feet, and then day one all these came out. So I just kept drilling, and I would hear you know, a ping, and then I would see this hit the ground. I just kept, you know, collecting them time after time after time, and no telling how many of them I missed. I just wanted to see, you know, try to get an understanding of what was going on. And I knew that I had to stick a camera down the well to figure out where I needed to put my rubber packer, the blue seal on the bottom of the liner. Because what you don't want to happen is rocks like this, if you didn't put the packer in, rocks like this or larger chunks could fall off and go down in the well and trap the pump in the well. And that ends up happening a lot of times when people have a stuck pump. So I knew what I had, and just had to put a little bit of thought into it overnight and come up with a game plan. And luckily we were able to save the well, and we make 12 gallons a minute. So we made a total of 12 gallons a minute is what we estimated, which was flowing away. But because there was water coming in at the 60-foot mark, I wanted to go ahead and cut some of that back. So I stamped it at 8 gallons a minute, because the water that was coming in from up top, as you can tell in the video down in the well camera video, that water had some turbidity in it. It was, you know, a little bit of surface water brought in some dirt. So I didn't want that mixing with the clean and clear water down in the well. But cool, time to get out of here. All right, we've got our generator hooked up. All I gotta do is get this thing running. Got 240 volts. We're gonna fire it up and start our pump test. I installed a 1 horsepower, 15 gallon a minute Grumpus SQ at 240 foot in the well. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the system on. I gotta go turn the generator on. Right now I'm letting it warm up. So we're gonna go ahead and kick the breaker. That's very clean water. I'm happy with it. That's literally the first gallon that's came out by a well pump. The water here looks really good. I'm noticing a slight yellow tinge to it. So my goal is to basically drain the well dry, see if I even can, and if I can drain it dry, I want to be able to measure how much gallons per minute I'm making, and I also want to be able to make sure that the water eventually clears up. You can kind of tell a little bit of yellow. Even in the video you can tell it's a little yellow, but I want crystal clear. So now we've been pump testing it for going on 30 minutes, and this is exactly why we pump test it, because you see the discoloration in the water. Now the theory is the dirty water coming in the well is up top, and the clean water coming in the well is down low. So when you install a pump at 240 foot, ideally you're putting it down in the clear water. So you have to pump it enough to draw the water level down to where you draw the murky water down into the clean water. And since the well has never been pumped before, it still had the murky water in the well. So what we're doing is we're pumping it, trying to draw the murky water down, and then hopefully it will just stop, because there should not be any more murky water dumping into the well, because we put a 4-inch liner with a packer in it. So the packer should seal any of the murky water from mixing in with the clean water. But we have to pump it first. We want to make sure that the packer is sealed. So we're going to let it run for about another 30 minutes, and hopefully, my hopes are that this murky water will become clear again. Alright, it has been 30 minutes and we've still been pumping it. We've been pumping it a little bit over an hour. If you look right over my head, we've got a storm coming, which is kind of insignificant, but it kind of sucks. Hopefully it won't hit us, but it looks a whole lot worse in person. Now, right before this, I showed you what the water looked like, and the water looked murky. And I kind of got a little down. I was kind of feeling like, well, maybe the packer, maybe it's not sealed. Maybe it's leaking by some, you know, a little bit, who knows. So that's the reason why we pump test it. We pump test it to see if the packer seals. Now, if the packer did not seal, then the water would stay murky, high turbidity all the time throughout the pump test. Now, I want to show you what it looks like now after about an hour and 10 minutes of pumping. We've given it enough time to evacuate all of the stored water in the well to now it's only given us what the well is producing. Now let me show you what it looks like. Now we were flooding this area out, so I decided to go ahead and add another pipe, but we're gonna go out here to where it's discharging. Now look at how beautiful and clear that water looks. I am very, very satisfied with that. That looks gorgeous, because earlier it looked a little brown, to say the least. But that looks satisfactory to me. I'm happy with that. So I'm gonna go ahead now. We're gonna turn the system off. I'm afraid there might be, you know, some lightning that's gonna come, maybe some rain. All right, the final test. See what it looks like. Looks beautiful. Happy with that. Now we're going to jump to the following day, the next well. And this is where things go bad. So we decided we were going to go here and drill a well, and that is the 8-inch hammer my father is looking at. Unfortunately, from how bad the formation was on the well before this, and remember I said the rotation pressures were really high? Well, guess what happened? It broke my 8-inch bit off inside of my hammer. And there it is right there. So what happened, I had mentioned that my rotation pressures were over 3 times their normal rate. And that bit took all of the abuse. And luckily it didn't break on that job. But what it did, it broke on the job the very next day.
But you're gonna have to go.
All right, so this is the new bit, and basically what happened was it snapped right here. This section here was up in the hammer, and from here down was stuck down in the well. So I was kind of playing around until Dad got back, and luckily I actually got it out. I'm afraid to touch it right now. It's probably scalding hot, but you can see, I'll clean that up better to where we can actually get a better visual of that. But we had to get this chuck off, and because the bit was broken off, there was nothing to grab onto. We used the bit and set it in a basket, and we use these grooves around here to locking pins into to keep it stationary. You know, any other drill you've ever used, when you lock the bit into the chuck, you have to use your hand to grab the chuck to either loosen it or tighten it. Well, this is so big, you put pins in here and lock it in. Well, when that's not there, how do you do that? So it was kind of a trick, but we actually got it. We took the acetylene torch and we melted the the plastic crush washer out of it, and then we just pushed like hell with this wrench here, and I stuck a 2x6 here and a little backwards rotation, and it came right off. I was very, very happy with that. So cool. We got it, dude.
I know, I'm proud of you.
That's awesome.
That's the hardest part of this job.
That is awesome. Cool. Now we just got to clean up.
Yep.
Clean up that and let it cool down, because that thing's scalding hot.
Yeah. Okay. Now where's the crush washer? I mean the white washer for 8-inch hammer.
I gotta go in there. It's probably in the office. I'll go get it. I've only seen Dad change out 10-inch bits before. I've never been the one to actually do it without him. When all of this happened, he was actually on site with us, and we were pulling out to set casing, and the bit was gone. So I have helped him with a broken 6-inch bit before, but I've never done an 8-inch. and I knew the process. Got grease. I knew the process that we needed to do, but he went to go check out, you know, Friday's job, and I was just like, well, we're gonna do what I know to do, and then if we don't get it, then I'll wait for him to come here and I'll pick his brain. So it was kind of crazy. I used the acetylene torch for probably 10 minutes, 8 minutes, something like that. Melted the crush washer out. I'm in here now looking for, I got a box of goodies. But basically I'll show you here. This right here is the washers. Now this is for a 6-inch hammer, not for the 8-inch. But basically this is the crush washer, and all it is just a piece of nylon plastic. I had to melt that out of a spot that you couldn't see by the eye. If you knew, you know, it was there, that was the area that you had to feather the flame onto. But got that all melted out, and I guess due to the fact that it was heat, all the heat and the acetylene and the oxygen and all that, the real high temperature flame, it heated up the threads enough on the collar to where it helped to loosen it up. And then once I put like a fork load, I pushed against one side, and then I had a 2x6 on the other side. It kind of gave it something to bite against, and then I just went backwards rotation with the head, and it came right off. I was blown away as soon as I saw that it broke loose. But to have a 8-inch bit failure, 8-inch shaft like that, 9 7/8 bit, first time I've ever seen that happen. That bit is almost a year old. It's not old enough for what just happened, but due to the fact that we went through the job at the beginning of this video where the rock was so bad, I believe that is what caused it. I was telling Justin on that job, these are jobs that happen, you know, rock that you run into that break bits off, and I feel like it probably broke 50% of the way on that job, and then we used it for 3 more wells, and then it broke on this one. So we're gonna go ahead and slap a new bit into it, and we'll be ready, you know, for tomorrow. So this is the piece that was stuck up in the hammer. It weighs about, I don't know, 40 pounds. So that's kind of where it broke at. I wanted to tip it over here and show you. It's still kind of warm, man. So yeah, this is what it looked like. Let's see if I can go in, get a really good image of that. So basically what we were assuming is it broke today somewhere between 40 and 47 foot. Because when I hooked up a rod at 40 foot, it didn't fall off, and it kept drilling. And we drilled it to 47 foot, and that's where we were gonna set casing. But if you see right here, it has this like lip here, and then you have this lip here. So what we believe is it either fatigued and broke on this half, or it fatigued and broke on this half. And then it continued to run until, you know, the other 50% decided it was gonna snap and come apart. But unfortunately, the rest from here down is still down in the well, and we just had to fill the well in with some bentonite, and then we filled the rest of the way up with just the dirt. We hadn't gotten down into the aquifer yet. We had just gotten to the point where we were going to set casing. So it is what it is. We'll show back up there and finish it another day. Now we got to pick this bad boy up with a strap and put it inside that bad boy right there. All right, Justin's on cleanup duty. Thing's still scalding hot. Got welding gloves on. But yeah, we were lucky that we actually had a bit. We inquired, we called the distributor, and he said there may be one in Pennsylvania, but you'd have to drive for it. So we're not doing that. Luckily we had one. We actually have another one. Let's see if I can zoom way in on it. See that really big one standing right in the middle? Well, that one is for an old 380 hammer, and it's an 8-inch. Even though it looks similar, it's not. So this one is a QL80, and the other one was a 380. I think there's like 8 splines on that one, where this one's got like 16 or 12 and 16, something like that. They're just slightly different, but you know, manufacturing in America, just not what it used to be. Hopefully we don't have the same thing happen with this one.